All right, hello. How are we doing today? I'm gonna wait until Sean shows up, and then let me see if I can get somewhere else with this face here. How's everybody doing tonight? We're gonna be running on a skeleton crew. Let me see. Let me adjust the. How's the audio? Can everybody hear? Hello, El Magusi. Hello, Jamie Odell. Faithful AFK. Jivin, Javel NYC. Hello. James Quo. Good to see you. K-pop junkie. Hello. Sounds good. Okay. All right. Hope everybody's doing good. I'm waiting for Sean to jump on. Um, Today we're going to be doing a portfolio review. Thank you to James Quo for volunteering. We try not to be as mean as Mike Choi last week. As a recap, we had the wonderful Mike Choi on last minute. He was able to share with us some of his insights, and it was very. I thought it was very informative. Yeah, James Cole, you can jump on the Discord voice chat. We're gonna have some questions. I haven't really looked at your pages yet. I wanna when we start, I wanna kind of have a fresh look real quick. I don't wanna. I want to get like a quick reaction. I mean, instant reaction, not instant reaction, but on the moment reaction, as opposed to having thought about it some more. So I'm seeing it for the first time with everyone else. What was the character? Was it was a Spider Gwen, or I kind of saw a little bit of it. I mean, I can't say I didn't see none of it. I mean, you can jump on if you want. We'll give it another couple minutes, James Cole, and then if Sean doesn't show up, then we'll just start. So, um, standard script from Spider Gwen and the Vulture. Okay, and I think it's 5 or 6 pages. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through all of them. You went to, I think you said you went to a convention this weekend, and you got some feedback already at the convention. Just trying to finish this first. You guys have seen I've been kind of picking at this for a few streams now. Just trying to get the likeness down. I might need. The only time I've been working on this particular sketches right before shows, so I get like a few minutes, maybe at most a week. And each time I look at it, Uh, I'm not too. There's something off with the likeness, and I feel like I need to spend a little bit more time just trying to knock it out. Uh, Terrificon in Connecticut. We got some good feedback. So James, hello? Is it James or Sean?
Oh, it's me. I'm Sean.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chen. We're going to be doing a portfolio review today, Sean, unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
No, portfolio review is that's a whole process, right? So
it's going to eat up,
hello,
I think,
hello?
most of the stream. Oh, we have
James.
Okay, so James has volunteered his recent sample pages, and
brave man.
This is you were at Terrificon this past weekend in Connecticut. Who was there?
Yes.
James, if you want to.
Yeah, it was like a really fun show. I got to chat with a few artists that I really admire. Like I got to talk to Mark Silvestri, got to talk to Humberto Ramos, and actually I got to talk to C.B. Cebulski.
Oh wow, okay. The big man.
What did CB say? Should we ask what CB says, or should we just do our review first? Without being...
Did he review your portfolio?
Yes.
Oh, he did. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think it might be one of the only conventions where he sets up a table, and so I think about the person helping the booth said about like 10 people stopped by to get reviews, and CB said that he wants to talk more in depth. So we're trying to set up a meeting. So we'll see if I can get that on the calendar. But you know,
well,
we'll see.
That's the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics. Let's see if you can get it on the calendar.
Yeah,
that's a power play right there, folks.
Well, yeah.
Good for you.
Well,
thank you. Did he remember looking?
So this was. Yes, he had remembered meeting me before, and you know, I when I met him, you know, I try to dress nice for a convention and try to be polite and professional. And yeah, he said that he had remembered me, and I said, you know, I'd done a lot of work over the last year to try to improve in certain areas. And he said that he remembered my work from before, and that he said that it was better.
Great. That's very important. I think,
which feels good.
You brought up a good point. I think anybody that's first of all looking to bring or showcase a portfolio at a convention, you do have to give a little bit of consideration as to what you're wearing. You don't have to wear a suit and tie, but you know, I wouldn't wear like shorts and flip-flops, especially if you're kind of a younger guy. You want to be presentable. You know, this is a business, and how you look also reflects in a way when they're looking at your work. They're also going to look at you, which is the great part of conventions. You get to actually have a physical one-on-one. But the image that you portray, you give off, you know, because this is a business. They need to make sure that not only can you do the job, can you draw well and tell a story, but then is this guy going to be reliable? You know, if we give him a deadline of like 4 or 5 weeks to draw a book, is he going to be able to turn it in, or is he going to like slack off and disappear? So, and that's where I really think giving a little bit of consideration to kind of what you're wearing and how you're presenting yourself. You know, Mike Choi mentioned this last time too, and how you put together your portfolio? You know, are the pages just scattered? Was it a PDF? Was it a Xerox copy? Did you have Xerox copies ready to leave to them or no, James?
Yes, I did. I had like a printout packet with my name and contact on it.
Excellent. Name and contact
and
on every page.
yeah,
Right?
on every page.
Okay, yeah. Because what happens is
Um,
sometimes if it's Xerox copies and the pages might get separated and there might be one page that like somebody really likes, like an editor might really like, and then if your name's not on it without contact info, you might have just lost out on an opportunity there. So,
um,
okay,
and when I introduced myself, I did try to like present myself in a professional way. Just be like, I've done work for editorial illustration for newspapers and magazines. I've worked at educational illustration companies. I've been part of, like, I understand that this is a team effort, and I can offer something to a team. I can take feedback. I can, deliver on time. This sort of thing.
okay, great. I mean,
So
none of that stuff is on its own going to get you work, but a combination of everything is really gonna. All right, let's get into it then. Let's jump right into it. So,
yeah, thank you for your time.
oh, well, thank you for volunteering. Sean, have you seen these yet? These are up on the Discord.
I have not.
Let me see if where's my OBS? Okay. This is up on the Discord if you guys want to go take a look. What is the Discord link? How do I link the Discord? Okay. All right, there's a Discord link in the chat. If you guys want to click on it, you guys can thumb through. You said it was 5 or 6 pages?
It's 5 pages.
5 pages. And this is a Spider-Gwen Vulture story. Did you write the story or...
No, I think it's a standard script. I've seen lots of different artists do their take on it.
Okay.
Like I've seen like Dika Ruens, who's like did like kind of blew it out of the water. But I feel like I worked hard on this, and I can say that this is done to the best of my ability at present.
Great. And this is all digital or traditional, or how did you?
It's a little bit hybrid. So I got the script, I printed it out, and then I got like printer paper and some like felt pens just so I could like draw as fast as possible and just like get out ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got into Clip Studio, and then I did like rough page layouts, and I fleshed it out pretty thoroughly, printed blue lines, and then I inked the characters on paper with like sable brushes and G pens and microns. And I scanned those in, composited those back in, and then used digital to do the backgrounds. So it's digital and
Okay.
traditional together.
Now, when you're doing the backgrounds on the regular line art, do you have like indicators of the perspective, or was it completely blank?
So when I did the digital roughs, I set up all the perspective rulers, and so everything was sort of like blocked in.
Okay.
So as much as so I could understand the space.
And who else did you get?
But trying.
Go ahead.
But perspective-wise, trying to be efficient just because it's there are deadlines, and so just trying not to like repeat work and like draw the same building a bunch of times.
Right.
But you were saying who else did I get feedback from?
Yeah, so you said Mark Silvestri looked at this, Humberto Ramos, CB, anyone else?
Yeah, those were the 2 artists that I did talk to.
Okay.
And so they were both very positive. I don't know if it's like you and me have been hanging out on stream every Tuesday for almost 5 years, but it was the first time that I had met the two of them. So that probably affects, like, they were kind of altogether very positive. Like Silvestri had said that the storytelling and composition were strong, and he said that that's very difficult to teach. And Ramos had said that. I mean, they're just very glowing. Like they said, beautiful work. It's all there. But then they both had the same note, the same criticism, which was like, it looks too rough. So then after the show, what you're looking at now is different than what I showed them. I kind of went back over everything and like polished it back up, just to make it really have like a more professional shine to it. And I remember both you and Sean saying the same thing to me at conventions previous, because you have taken the time to help me with my work before. And I think both you and Sean said that it was too rough. And I think with this round, I'm really trying to listen and take that criticism and improve. So I really tried to polish this up before presenting it tonight. So hopefully it looks a little more finished.
I think, yeah, I remember from the last one that we looked at, I forgot what the characters were, but the main, at least this was from New York. Sean, you remember James's last portfolio, or?
Yeah, I can't recall who the character was. It like Robin, something like that?
Yeah, I think there was like a Super Sons sequence with like a bank robbery.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that stuck out in my head was that it looked like it was drawn very fast. And so there were certain things that were not as polished or slightly rough in its finish. Sean, do you remember anything from it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say the same thing, but like the level of finish, I think it conveys confidence. So I think you draw super fast, and I think you have a certain amount of time in your head that you want to be done with a drawing. Yeah, I wish I could draw that fast. I don't. So when you look at my work, no one would ever say like, well, it looks kind of rough, like it's not finished. But that finish comes at an extremely high price, and I just don't like the way rough stuff looks. So I spend the time to take it all the way to the nth degree, probably too tight for a lot of inkers. But that comes at each page taking 3 days, and that's no way to make a living. So I wouldn't recommend doing what I do. But the reason I do is because it makes it look. I mean, I draw only so well, but if you draw very neatly, that so well looks like there's also confidence thrown in there, and it raises the level of your drawing. It's a good way to work around a lack of skill. So I think this is good for a lot of, like, this looks like David Mazzucchelli level of drawing, where it's rough, but then he's going to ink it. So would you consider this to be like there's some pencil stuff and there's some ink stuff, so it's almost like a halfway in between type thing. So I wouldn't say it was the traditional way of working, where usually it's all ink or all pencil. So this is kind of like a hybrid. So maybe that's kind of like a new way of drawing, where you can represent gray with pencil or something.
Well, I like how he's using some gray in this. He's taking advantage of some digital. You're doing it might anyway, so might as well take advantage of the medium first of all, right? To me, just in quickly looking at this, before we dive deep into kind of the page specifics, again, from what I remember before, I remember like the backgrounds were very sketchy. They weren't fit, none of the lines like closed or connected. But here in the very first page, the very first panel and second panel, it does look very polished. It does look very finished, although maybe like this area here is a little bit rough. the one thing on this first page that looks a little kind of rushed or quick is the shadow gesture on her suit, and I think that we can discuss a little bit later as we go into the book. This is page 2, right?
Yes.
Okay. What happens in the story? I mean, did you change any of the story, or this is the same thing? You didn't really.
I tried to stick to the script as much as I was able. So like Gwen is tagging the neighborhood with all these insults about like the vulture smells bad, and then he comes up and he's insulted and he like knocks her off the fire escape.
Wait, so she's tagging already?
And
so
then,
she's already a criminal. So who's the bad guy here?
On the first page, that's true. Yeah, on the first page, yeah, she's tagging the vulture. Yeah. Page 2, vulture comes up, takes exception to that. Page 3, they fight, and they sort of like, she webs him up. They chase into an apartment, and then he has webs in his eyes, and then he like, well, I kind of don't want to explain the story. Like, right. My question about the storytelling is like, can you tell what's happening?
Right. Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out. I was just curious as to how close you stayed to the script, or if you had changed anything from the script.
I tried to stick to it as much as I could.
Okay, and that's great. That's one thing I would recommend. Don't change up the script if you're given a script. Try to stick as close to it as you can, especially for a portfolio sample. After you get the work, it's a little bit. You have a little bit of leeway, but when you're trying to get the job, really try to stick as close as you can, because otherwise, when you're changing it, sometimes you're doing it because you can't solve the problem that's in the script, and you're trying to make it a little bit easier. So they go into. So if we go into page 2. The vulture flies in with other vultures. He's saying something. She's, I guess, pointing at him, or pointing, and then he's, I guess, swooping in. But as he swoops in, she gets knocked out of the fire escape, and drops her phone. As she's falling, she shoots a bunch of webs at the vulture. This second panel looks like the webbing is stuck to him, and he's, I guess, crashing into a building. Third panel looks like he's inside of an apartment. And I guess she's being carried in with him. Fourth panel, it looks like he's flying back out of the apartment that he crashed into. I'm not sure if she's being pulled along, but it doesn't look like there's any webbings connected. So here she's shooting again some webbings back at him, at his feet. And then we get a nice pull-out wide shot, bird's eye, no pun intended. She's kind of going along for the ride as he's swooping over the harbor. Here he's pulling I guess to get rid of the webbing. This one I'm not exactly sure what's going on. It looks like there's two of them, and is he trying to fly around in a circle to then, or is this? Oh, that's Spider Gwen there. Oh, that's Spider Gwen there. So I guess he's kind of looping around. She's kind of being flipped around. We see the city in the background. I think he's swiping or cutting the thing, the webbing loose. And in the air, she's falling. Lands in the water, and the phone rings, and it's her dad calling her. But the phone is back at the original. I'm assuming the phone is back at the original site. Right? Is that kind of what happens?
Yeah. Yes, I think that that is what happens.
Okay. I would say overall this is an improvement, a good step in the right direction from the last sample pages. With any samples, with any pages, there's always Monday morning quarterbacking. There's always like things that can be, because you can tell the same story 100 different ways, right? So different storytellers have different sensibilities. Some shots that Sean might choose, I might not choose. Some shots that I draw, Sean might not do, or Jerry might not do. And so some of these are just to keep in mind, this is from different storytelling sensibilities. But there are also still, I think, rules. I love rules. But I also love breaking rules. But rules to follow in terms of storytelling, and who you're working for, right? Like what genre is this story taking place? So Sean and I kind of started at the same time with similar teachers. Sean, and feel free to jump in and counter me, but I've always been under the impression that if you're doing a superhero book, it's some form of rock and roll, right? And when I say rock and roll, not necessarily like always like rock and roll, but something that's exciting, that's rhythmic, that is different than a ballad or a country song, or I would also include like hip hop in that assumption of rock and roll. There's just something that really just catches you, and so that's always my approach, underlying foundation for if I'm drawing for a Marvel or DC. I think one thing that you've done here, there's an immense amount of detail in all the pages. So who do you, James, I might have asked this before, but like, is there a couple of artists that you look at in particular?
Yeah, I think leading up to this, I was looking at Leinil Franciscu a lot. I also really enjoy Stuart Immonen. Because this was a Gwen story, I actually went and looked at a lot of the Silver Age, kind of the Gil Kane Spider-Man era.
Okay. Because I would say, like, a Jeff Darrow would come to mind when I'm looking at something like this, and how immensely detailed his work is. Do you know Jeff's work?
Oh, he was a big early influence. Like
Okay.
when I was 12 years old, I went to my comic store and bought Hard Boiled, which they totally should not have sold to me.
Yeah.
But
I think definitely there's some
yeah,
kind
I
of
love
like
his
Jeff
work.
Darrow PTSD involved in your creative process, which is good. I mean, we all have, like, whether we know it or not, there's always certain influences. Sean, what do you think, Jeff Darrow?
I can see the Neil Yu that you're talking about. The thing is, like, you and me are kind of the same way, that you like all that detail. I draw cityscapes all the time. I just like the way it looks when you draw everything there. I think one thing that you could do is, like, if you have like a graphic design sense, design to the composition, where there are areas that are extremely, or panels that are extremely dense with stuff. But then, like, after it's there, you got to give a kind of a contrasting look, just so you don't blow out someone's retinas from just a lot of details. So you can do that by having a page where there's less backgrounds, where you point the camera up at the sky, where it's just empty. Like you did that a little bit on the first page, and then the problem with, like Jeff Darrow has a great style, but that's the style that he chose means that he can't do a lot of stuff that he probably thinks is cool, that he loves, that he sees. And like Mike Mignola, he can't do it because it doesn't fit his style. He can never let your eye have a rest anywhere because that's not his jam. So that I can kind of see that kind of going on in your work. Like if you had the like I don't think Jeff Darrow gives himself the permission to just black out some buildings so that they appear as silhouettes where it's needed. So like if you have a very complicated character like Spider-Man, where he's just covered in webs, so Spider-Man is really detailed. His skin is like very covered in that grid, and then you put him in an urban background where he's swinging around, and then those buildings kind of have the same grid going on. So essentially, what happens is that in a black and white drawing, especially, he just disappears, and it's just not a great drawing because of just bad luck between how the character is designed. You don't have any say in that, and then where he is at the time was, what the writer dictates. It's just a guy with a grid against a bunch of rectangles with a grid, and then your character's gone. So unless you step in as the artist and say, I'm the artist, I'm taking control of this. I'm moving the camera, I'm changing the light, I'm changing the lighting on these people so that it makes a cool image. So, like maybe you might make Spider-Man very large on the page so that you won't get lost in the whole sea of windows. Or maybe you make a building that has a very clean line. Like some buildings are just don't have like all these busy windows on it, but just look more like like a metal. So you can choose what buildings are behind him, and you can choose where to put the camera. You can choose the lighting effects. Sometimes the lighting comes really strong from one side or the other, and it basically washes out all the detail on his skin and just becomes like a white or pink color, like a bright light from one side. So that's kind of what you have to do. And if you're not careful, then you end up having the detail that after a while it might be kind of a turnoff, just like how much it is. And then if it's page after page after page. So there's one that Bernard has now where where Jeff Darrow drew, where he's walking on the sidewalk. So the sidewalk is the quiet where your eyes can rest, and then the cars and buildings behind it, and the awning and the signage, that's where it gets busy. And his suit is pure white, like he didn't draw any shadows on the suit. So it's basically you take control because you're a graphic designer, and you're taking control of it and then ordering how you treat the surfaces so that it reads aesthetically and clearly.
Yeah, so
Thank you, Sean. That makes
I think
sense.
that's a good point. And Jeff is I think he's still traditional. So, with your permission, James, I'm going to draw over this.
Oh, please do.
Right.
Please do.
So, there's just so much stuff to look at, which kind of makes it fun, right? It makes it really fun to read. There's just so much energy going on. At the same time, like, I think unless you're coloring it, some of this stuff can at times also get lost. However, because you have a digital step in your process, so what I would say is, like, in that, take advantage of the digital, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's say if we're going to take the first panel and you have all these buildings going on, and everything is the same. Everything is the same opacity. And what I might, going off of what Sean's saying, what I might consider is that if we're going to copy paste this, it's all drawn on different layers, right?
Yes.
So if I were to do, let's say, shoot. Okay, let's say if and I'm going to quickly do this. I don't want to take too much time on one specific thing. But if I were to, and this is what you kind of had initially when you drew this page. Was it just the Spider-Gwen, or did you have the other components? You said all the backgrounds were digital.
Yeah, the backgrounds are all digital. But I think, like when I, like a drawing philosophy that I got from a painting teacher way back in college was just sort of when you're working on an image, try to like work on the whole image so it comes into focus, like watching a Polaroid develop. So like the heaviest darks come in, and then like all the detail comes in last. So I was trying to like balance it with like Gwen and the background at the same time, but I think I need more experience with like knowing when enough is enough.
Yeah. So
for on the topic of detail, I did try to make a difference in rendering, like because for character, like Vulture, he's like a mean, craggly old man. So I put lots of cross hatching and kind of jagged knife edge brush lines on him.
Yes.
Whereas Gwen, I tried to keep like she's young and she's bright and tried to keep her kind of elastic and there's very little like cross hatching, maybe a little touch here and there, but I need to learn how to do that for the background.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely got that
like
feeling.
Create.
I definitely got that feeling from the work that, the Vulture himself does look scragglier. So, okay, here. In this instance, since you're drawing the backgrounds on separate layers, and I do this in my work, I have like multiple layers for multiple line art layers and multiple background layers. And so just by like taking exactly what you've drawn already, and maybe like separating it into kind of different planes and different opacities, I'm already pushing out between the main subway track, and then the mid-ground buildings, and then the background buildings. Do you see what I'm doing? Outside of this.
Yeah, it looks a lot more dimensional.
Right, so now you're pushing stuff, and then you're giving the eye a little bit of chance to read without really but you still have the excitement of all this detail going on. But it really gives it a sense of depth. I think some of that is what you're trying to do here by not connecting the lines. Right, you're trying to break up these shapes so that they don't like, tangentially touch each other and form one big block. But because and when people used to draw traditionally, they would have to do this because if they connected all the line art, because it's all the same ink black line, it then flattens out any kind of dimensional push. So people would like not connect lines to give that sense of a depth. It's almost like a mystical mist or cloud that's kind of breaking up the foreground, midground, background. But because it's digital, you can still finish the drawing without having to not connect any of these lines. Another thing is, since you're doing it digitally, the other component is that, and you started using a little bit of the grayscale, is and I can kind of see it that you're doing it here. Okay? You did a little bit of the grayscale on the train, right? Who wrote this story?
Yeah, I tried not to use the. I could find it. I have the script around here somewhere. Is it? Oh, it's Jason Latour,
Okay.
I think. And I think this is from a published story from around 2015. So I have seen the published version of like
Oh.
what the correct answer was.
Okay. Well,
Who drew it?
you said it was DK? Or DK's
DK Ron?
DK
Oh,
Ron?
oh no, I saw DK's sample version, but I think the actual comic was drawn by Rodriguez. I can't remember the first name at the moment.
Robbie Rodriguez?
I think so.
Oh yeah, he's created Spider-Gwen. Right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. So if I were to then kind of take that next step and just add another, I mean, you have it very light, maybe it's not that dark, but here again, now I'm really separating the work. So even if I were to not have done the other versions and just gone, even this, it still breaks up the background a little bit more, right? Because also when you have all the small details, you notice how when we kind of pull back, there's this gray area here by the train tracks, but then this building and the water tower, because there's so much line detail, it gets kind of blurred in, and it kind of connects the two. So that would just be something to consider. What I've been doing more in my work too is that some of these backgrounds or some of these other buildings in the background, I will just kind of go in and just do a whole shape.
In black, are you talking about?
Well,
Just
in
like
black,
flat
but then in tone. So
Right. Yeah, one thing I draw this type of thing a lot, and then as I sit and look at it, when the drawing's done, it's not really done. I'll look at it, and then I'll just think, and then my mind goes. It's like it starts blackening things in, and I would imagine what it would look like if this building's black, and I'd imagine if like that foreground is black, or if there's a huge shape in the foreground that's entirely black. And one thing I always seem to come up with that seems to work is if you kind of frame the subject, which is her, with like black on both sides or below, so that it's almost like a frame around her. So you can kind of see like what Bernard's doing there. It kind of does like lead your eye, and I find that I'm always blackening the buildings that are on the edge. And it creates kind of like a horseshoe surrounding your subject. For some reason, that always seems to work for me. And what you're trying to do there is just creates a hierarchy of things for your eye to see. You're kind of ordering the values so that it makes sense on a 10 feet away scale. So your eye kind of knows what to do, and there's a certain amount of comfort in that an artist there is ordering what you're supposed to look at for you, so that you're not inundated with a lot of detail, which comes out all at the same time.
yeah, so you're basically framing, a particular section of the drawing that you want the reader to focus on. So this is the other way of doing it, right? Whereas I took away the foreground grayscale, or even you can kind of leave it. But again, it's I would say like if you're going to choose the darker elements in the back, then so then there's a. Can you see this version?
Yeah, thank you. This was really helpful. I was only trying to use solid grays for separation and not use it for modeling. But I think I was too tentative about like going really dark with the gray. Like my gray was only like 10 or 20% max. But being really confident with that in the far distance, and then like when you had it before on the train bridge, I do see the difference.
Yeah, I
this
mean,
is making sense.
this is like in the old days where people would use Zipatone, and Zipatone's kind of coming back in popularity right now. But Zipatone would be like a grayscale version for black and white to knock out particular areas, right? And that because it's Spider Gwen and it's probably during the day, and Spider Gwen stories tend to be, I think, I mean, they're not dark stories, right? They're kind of, she's a teenage ballerina or student. So, I might want to keep it a little bit lighter. And in that sense, I might go with this as a precursor for kind of knocking everything out.
My choice here.
The other initial comment, I have like two or three. The second one would be, I still think some of the characters tend to be a little too cartoony.
Okay.
And when I say cartoony, I look at like this figure here, where she's tagging the water tower. I mean, it's a great tool that you have, you link it back and forth. But when it's a small, obviously like here, she's drawn in, kind of your style, but when the characters get smaller, they almost get a little cartoonish, where the hands get a little bit exaggerated, the feet, and the arms and the proportional. So, and when I see that, like also, like some of these characters down here, like this old lady, and this is a difficult angle. It's a 3/4 down shot or isometric down shot. So the heads are going to be bigger. But I would steer typically, if this is for, although I'm being careful what I'm saying, because I do see there being a trend for more cartoonish style being printed at Marvel and DC these days. Also a heavier kind of manga influence, but still the manga is really still in the faces and not so much in the proportions. So when I say cartoony, I think like maybe more the proportions. So like in her body here, in Spider-Gwen's body, where she's kind of hunched on the fire escape, it's a difficult angle. It's a 3/4 down shot, but I feel like some of the anatomy here looks like it's very quickly drawn, and it has a where like opposed to like this face in the very next panel, right? Her eye is considerably smaller, but then on this page, her eye is like much bigger on her face, right? So you're kind of fluctuating between, and even this is it's a little bit more. It's not very manga or anime-esque, right? Although the hands tend to be a little bit cartoonish. I could be talked out of this argument, but
I think when you say cartoonish, I think cartoonish is okay, but I think it lacks a little bit of structure, because like DK Ruan this is very cartoony, but then there's a structure underlying everything, and that's the hard thing, is to be cartoonish, but also to have that the structure, because I think it falls apart a little bit, especially in the hands and the arms. They're a little bit mushy. That just comes from drawing of the figure a lot, and then I think it'll be more solid. But if you want to hear from Mike Choi, he's here. So
Mike's in.
Isn't he in the chat?
Is he in the chat? Does he want to jump on the Discord? You're getting three.
Yes, please take over from me.
Three for the price of one, James.
Yes, I'm eager for more feedback.
Well, how do we get him in? So.
Jump on the Discord. Is Mike able to? It's the same link as last time. So I think okay, maybe not cartoony, but more consistency might be the right word. Right? You shift between varying styles, and manga does that. I mean, manga, some eyes are big, some eyes are normal. Well, I mean, they're all big, but like then they get kind of cartoony. Um,
Hello?
Mr. Choi, thank you for joining us tonight. So, how much of this are you caught up on, Mike, or hello? Did we lose him? Sean, are you still there? Did I lose Sean?
I'm still here.
Okay.
No, I'm here.
Well, it seems like Mike is on, but your thing is muted. You gotta unmute yourself, Mike. I don't know how to do that. You gotta do that on your. Or did somebody mute him?
Yeah. One thing I would say, that you use black, white, and then there's like that very light gray. I think that light gray is a little too light, and that allows you to be very, very timid. And that way, you can put it in places where it shouldn't be, and it wouldn't harm so much because it's so light. But I think if you step it up more, I don't use any gray, and if I did do gray, it would be from hatching. So it is important to represent gray somehow, but you got to get a little bit more bolder with it and be more deliberate in where you put it. Because when it's timid, it kind of looks a little wishy-washy and a little bit non-committal, which kind of conveys a little bit lack of confidence. And that's just the way it comes across. So maybe just step it up and break up the shapes and use it to lead your eye around. And sometimes it's there to separate planes, but also sometimes it's there to represent shadows on your character. So
Yeah. So this is just talking about that. Again, if you were to punch up the shadows, just using it to knock out one side of the building, right? Then our eye focuses right here, for the most part.
I think, yeah, thank you. That does help. This panel, I guess that's panel 3, where she's on the fire escape.
Yeah.
To me, that was the most technically challenging out of the whole script, because it was like in one panel, she's up on the fire escape spraying graffiti tags, and on the street there's like pedestrians and there's a news crew and they're pointing up, and I was like, geez, how do I like get all those things into one image?
you can't.
So I don't know how you feel about this solution, or if you would feel like there's like another way to show
Well,
that.
there's another way. There's always other ways. If I were to be quiet, butthead. Sorry, the bird in the background is. Hold on a second.
What happened to Mike?
I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay. So
Oh, hey, Mike's here.
without changing the layout, and this is only because I'm not changing the layout. Another way of doing this would be reverse angle. What is the newscast? What is the news crew doing?
So I think, as far as the script goes, it sounds like at first Gwen might think they're watching her do the graffiti, but really they're all pointing up because they see the vulture up in the sky swooping around with a bunch of birds, and what's the vulture going to be up to this time? So it's like I think in the script it seemed like it's supposed to be for a little misdirection. Like first you think they're there to see Gwen, but really they're for this other reason.
Right.
But then they don't really appear again in the story. So
the civilians. So I mean, the reverse angle could work, where we're on the ground. Uh-oh, someone's trying to get in on the action here. If you guys can see, look at this guy. I think he has critiques that he wants to give.
Oh, he's so cute.
I would add some of these things. And this would be another layout. So, can you see this? Without changing the shape
I
of
see it.
the panel.
Are you drawing the vulture back there too?
Maybe, possibly.
Because I don't know if that's a reveal thing or like
Yeah,
you don't
is
really know
that a
until
reveal for the
next.
next panel, or is that or can we show it in this one?
I think it's a reveal, but I think that works really effectively.
So here in the foreground we have a news guy, maybe a backwards baseball cap. He's holding a camera on his right shoulder, maybe a backpack. Here is the news reporter holding a mic. Hey, this is Steve from Action News. And then if you really wanted to knock it in, you can say Action News on the van. There's a van parked right next to the news van. If you really wanted to Action 7 News, you can have a police officer here. Maybe he's giving direction, and then some more civilians. Other things in the background, I would include maybe like as a subliminal thing, a traffic light with it being on red, saying stop or go, or yellow. All of these things add to the scene, right? And then you have in the background some silhouette of the city. I also have her on the edge. So she's on the edge of the building. That way, she's kind of focused a little bit. Maybe she's here. Maybe she's here. And she's tagging the wall, which I'm very against tagging. And then in the background, some specks of birds flying. Right? We see specks, but we don't know what they are. And so that could still go into the thing. And then if we have this, again, without changing the shape of the panel, although if you're doing this from scratch, I would not do the panel shape at all. I would sketch all of this out first without the confines of the panel. But this is just only because for this review purpose. What is the last panel? The last panel is that she sees that it's the vulture, or that the vulture...
Yeah, like her spider sense goes off. She looks up. There's the vulture plus some birds.
Okay.
Circling high above.
Another way of doing that is, well, you have her...
She's looking up at the vulture?
What he has is that she's looking up at the vulture.
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
a tough one.
Right? What I'm proposing is that since she's spray painting do we see her face? Oh yeah, we still see her face. How does the mask go on? Does it just like...
The script doesn't mention mask or no mask, and I looked at a bunch of the comics because I really enjoy Takeshi Miyazawa. That's another favorite, and I think in those it's like a living costume, and so it'll kind of go on and off depending on the moment. So I kind of did it half on because I was trying to do like a Silver Age Ditko, like when Peter is having his spider sense tingle. Sometimes it's like the half mask with the lines coming off.
Okay. Do you see what I did here?
I do.
So...
Oh, Jerry's here too.
Oh, Jerry's here. Well, all right. Welcome, Jerry. We're giving James Cole a portfolio review.
This is super helpful. Like another artist I've been looking at was Kim Jung-gi,
hmm
and like in some of his how to draw stuff, he's like, picture your scene like it's a diorama, and you just like you can like place all the different characters and the buildings and vehicles, and then make it so you can just like float your eye like anywhere, and like look at it from any angle, and then just like pick what the most dramatic one would be. And so like seeing you like show these from different angles is really helpful, just because that was like a lot of mental work trying to like rotate all these different factors around and still like make it exciting and make it structural and
Yeah.
etc.
I mean, a big thing I always say is, if when you're doing layouts for a comic book page, most young artists, they'll start with this. They'll start with the page itself, and then they'll think, oh, okay, maybe this is, I've got a big splash, and then okay, maybe I'll do this next page, and then like this, and then you start drawing all the stuff in there, and that is a big no. That is a big no-no. Because as a young artist, you have to explore as many different camera angles first, and then choose which ones you like, and then fit it into what might be the page. You choose like a money shot. If the money shot was the first one and you really like that one, then the other ones you're left with half of the page real estate. How do you do that? Is it two vertical panels or two horizontal panels? That's up to you, right? But if you're trying to first start off with the size of the page, and then you start, okay, I want to do two horizontal panels, and then you're trying to fit it in here, no. You might be saving a little bit of time now, but you're hurting yourself in the long run. Because why is it so easy for myself or Sean or Mike or Jerry to come up with these angles? It's not like magic or anything. It's just the number of times I've drawn scenes like this already before, that I can already have the experience in my head from other stories, from other perspectives, other angles, and then I'm able to categorize and catalog and flip through, okay, I really want this, I like that, and already see it, and then I can put it down. But when you're first starting out, you have to draw everything without the panels, because it's ultimately going to hurt you, because you're not exploring as much, right? And plus, there's no deadline for this. I mean, I guess the deadline would be, your next deadline would be New York Comic Con, right? Which is in 2 months or 3 months to
Yes.
do another pass. And again, I would say, like, if you're planning on doing another set of tryout pages or portfolio pages for the next show, I would redo this story and draw it again, with keeping in mind all of the notes that you got from CB, from Mark Silvestri, from Humberto Ramos, from us, and then also just from looking at it after the fact, you might even have other opinions. Now, maybe it's not as much fun to draw the same story again, but it's not about fun, right? It's about getting work. So why would you start with a brand new story that could give you maybe more potential problems, as opposed to starting with the same story that now you have all this insight on, and all this work being done on it, to then redraw it again to an even better level? Because, like, you're not being hired to write, right? And I really doubt that a lot of people are going to exactly remember your portfolio pages from half a year or a year ago. But if they see something that's perfect or close to perfect, your chances of getting hired are much greater. Do you guys have any? I'm going off on a tangent, but do you guys want to talk on that before I
agree.
get back to the page?
I think that, yeah, let's say, for example, like CB remembers that you did this same sequence, I think that would actually help you for all the reasons that
Yeah.
Bernard just brought up. Like, I think that it would show that you aren't just trying to have fun, like you said, but it means something to you that you want to constantly improve on very specific things. I think it would actually be a good sign if they remembered it and saw that you redid it.
Yeah, I think the thing.
And
The
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, the excuse would be, I took all of the notes that I got, and I took another pass at the same story, combining all the notes and all the things that you told me or you taught me, or that you pointed out or so and so pointed out, to make a better portfolio. And I think that's even better because that shows that you can take direction, that you can take criticism.
Exactly.
Because I see so many young artists, and every time they're bringing me like a new portfolio, a new 5, 6, 8-page portfolio, and I'm like, why? When the other portfolio had problems, and then this one has other problems, why not put together as close to a perfect portfolio as you can to get work? And then,
So my question is, oh, sorry.
yeah, your question is?
I am listening, and I think that is good advice. I'm trying to figure it out because as you're talking about this, I remembered something else that Mark Silvestri said, which was he liked these pages, but he really wants to see normal people doing normal things, like an office setting.
Yes.
Because these 5 pages are all superhero
Right.
fighting action,
Mm-hmm.
but he wants to see something else. So my concern would be, I see the benefit of redoing these and making them even better. I'm worried about that it only showcases a limited number of skills. Like there's not, and like I don't know how many opportunities there are to show other things like normal people.
There's lots of opportunities to show normal people. I mean, you had Bernard show like it wasn't just the news crew, but the police officers that were there, and they're doing their regular stuff, and they're dressed normally too. And the shot with like I know what Mark's talking about. He doesn't want to just see spandex, so to speak. But let's say, for example, the shot where Vulture gets knocked into the. That's my least favorite sequence of the ones that you've drawn so far because there is a disconnect, and I saw what you were drawing, and I can't really tell what's going on because you have like this smash. Also, I know you were talking about rotation a lot, but there's other things that you can do with the camera. But anyway, when Vulture smashes into the apartment, you could have people doing regular apartment stuff. Like maybe kids are watching TV or something and they're interrupted by Vulture coming in. That's the stuff that Mark's talking about, not necessarily an office setting with people doing office stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's perfect. Like the sample story that I had up last year or the year before with Batman and Joker, where there was a bank robbery, and they're actually going through, and then they're chasing Joker through Gotham City. Right? It was written specifically to include multiple criterias. Civilians, people in kind of normal clothes. You have a street chase, so you're drawing cars, you're drawing buildings, and you're drawing, a favorite superhero and a villain. And the suggestion was that there was a sidekick, so that maybe draw a female character, or if you're drawing a male hero, draw a female villain, so that you're covering all the bases. So, like this story, I mean, Mike makes a good point. Like even in this page, and this I think was, and I would agree that this is probably not the strongest page, even though there's so much action going on. But let's say you take this scene here where she's kind of zipping, bolts the webbing at the Vulture. You have a street, but here you can populate cars, you can populate a hot dog stand, you can populate civilians running around. When they crash into the apartment, he's crashing into the kitchen. Why not have like a lady cooking, I don't know, some omelets or something, or drinking coffee? Like She's just sipping morning coffee. Is this story taking place in the morning? Is it taking place in the afternoon? Is it taking place at night, or close to dawn? These are all story components that you can throw in that makes the story even richer and fuller, right? If it was in the morning, you have like a lady just making coffee, or like a young woman making coffee, and she's maybe in her PJs, and the boyfriend's sitting here reading a newspaper. No one reads a newspaper, but maybe like reading his phone or something, or a kid playing video games. Something that says, "Oh, what else?" But also that the vulture's crashing in, so it's like you're interrupting normal daily life, right? And when they zoom out, again, this sequence here where they're coming out of the hole in the building, you just have a hole there. They could be peeking through like the debris, like, oh, who's that? What just happened here? Those are little things that you can add just within the existing story to kind of cover the bases, because all of these guys, they're going to want to see, if you're drawing a Spider-Gwen book, an issue, let's say it's 20 pages. Of the 20 pages, Spider-Gwen is probably only, as Spider-Gwen, fighting maybe 4 or 5. So you have 3/4 of the book, or 2/3 of the book, where she's in her civilian ballet at ballet school, or as a student, or walking around New York City, or wherever it is, or talking on the phone or whatever, interacting with other people. The bulk of the book is not really action stuff. It has a lot of other things. So the only flaw that the Batman Joker script that I wrote doesn't have is an extra singular page of dialogue, of just characters talking and interacting. But there are instances where, yeah, you could throw in some civilians in here. Anyways, going back to the first page, that's a good point, Mike. Sean, anything?
Not necessarily whether we haven't covered already.
So the last panel, another take on the last panel is, since she's tagging up like a wall, and you drew a window. The version that you had was that she's spray painting on a window. The other thing is, remind me to mention about this window, because I think this was something that was a note from the Robin portfolio pages that you had before, was keeping things consistent throughout. So the window on page 1 it looks like it's 2 separate windows with the framing, but then when we see it again, it has a different framing structure than how you drew it in the first page. So that would be, it's a minor gripe, but for me, it's a detail in the story. The reader might just glance over it subliminally, but as a storyteller, these are details that need to be consistent.
Speaking of which, I'm also noticing the graffiti has vanished from page 1 to
Yeah,
page 2.
and the graffiti's vanished, so it's no longer there. So is this the same? Is this the same corner of the building? And then again here, like, there's you could have drawn some more cars back here if you wanted to. And then the other one on this page, again, I got to go back to the first page, but this page is like, here she's at the corner of the fire escape, but then here she's pointing at the vulture, right? But she's pointing off to the side. Do you see what I'm saying? Because the window is this way,
yeah.
right? So, and then this is the edge of the building, but even here, like, if she was falling down, I would have, given a chance to incorporate some more of the background of the environment. Okay, last talk about page 1, and then we'll move forward. I get off on these tangents. So the last panel, over her shoulder, we see her reflection in the window, and in the background we see the vulture coming into frame. Some of the tagging. This is some of the tagging, and then I guess we can have, if we wanted to, the spider sense going off, and then if you wanted to have the face mask or mask coming on, you know, you can do that here as a reflection off of the mirror, off of the window. Sorry, off of the window. So there's many different ways. You have her looking up. It's a different. This is a difficult angle to draw. Upshot, 3/4 or straight. You know, and then he's kind of circling. Even if we were to stick with this shot, what I maybe would have liked to have seen is re-establishing the edge of the building. That she's still.
Oh yeah.
You know, so here she's anchored on one side of the panel, and then the vulture is like, you know, kind of circling around.
Yeah,
One
that makes sense.
One last thing about the background is that, you know, again, some of these things I feel like we got to figure out here in the second panel. This kind of disappears. If this is the edge of the building, you know, like why didn't you finish this part of the building? It's great that you have pizza. I love pizza. And then is the sidewalk all the way extended to here? So this is the street. So that the news truck is now driven onto the sidewalk, or is the sidewalk here and this is the street? Like, if I was coloring this, like, well, you know, is this all sidewalk here? And is the reporter brought her baby to the scene to work?
Well, the baby could go with that businessman.
Okay. Yeah, that's just that's neither here nor there, but right. So where is the, you know, really realize this? This is a difficult angle to draw, but perspective-wise, if we were to, do you have a grid for all of this?
I do.
Does the van follow the grid?
It's.
Oh, do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I tried to make sure that the van was sitting on where the sidewalk would be, but like I tried to rotate it a little, just so it wouldn't look too robotic if everything went to the same vanishing point. Like I tried to rotate a little to the side so its vanishing point is on the same horizon, but is like over to the side.
Yeah.
Right. But like the thing is, I think there's some lines that don't connect. I think what Sean said very early on when he said that things lack a little structure, I think that holds true for the backgrounds as well. Like, you know, the ladder, it's very narrow. I mean, you can see that, right?
Mm. Like it would be
Like
difficult
this-
for a human person to climb down that ladder.
This ladder here, this one.
No, the one that's like kind of going off, that thing.
By the edge of the building or by the edge of the panel?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, yeah, I mean, like overall, like it looks. Yeah, I think there's something a little bit unbelievable with like if the vanishing point was going down on that panel, like I feel like the people are not the correct size. I don't know. I could be nitpicking here, and it's very late, but there's something a little bit that I don't buy about that background. About the perspective of that one panel.
And
Well, let me just say that you can solve all this by just picking a very boring straight ahead angle, and everything will be better, and the drawing would be better, except that the composition would suck. So the fact that every single one of your panel is doing the most difficult angle, that's just a lot of balls, and you do risk having that very difficult drawing problems. And I like how you're not afraid of them. So I think good on you for that.
1,000,000%, because my first instinct when I first saw those pages was like, oh, this is good. And a lot of it, like 90% of that came from, oh, you're trying very difficult stuff and you're doing a lot of it well. You know what I mean? But so I do feel like I'm nitpicking, but it is that, that last 10% that separates like, the pro level as opposed to, oh, this is a really good drawing, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I wouldn't want to take the reader out of the story if they're wondering how does the sidewalk work, instead of wow, I can't wait to see what happens next.
Right, but you can see the lines that Bernard is drawing. They're still too parallel to be creating, like, the vanishing point is like 30 feet behind where Bernard is sitting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, those lines are almost parallel. So that's why the people looking so small look so weird to me, because the lines are parallel. There's no vanishing point. That's, if that makes sense. But I cannot take away from what Sean said. Is like, this is a tough angle, and you are trying to make everything legible as well on top of that. So there's a lot that I would, like Sean was saying, I would take this over like a very, very boring panel, especially over and over again. But there are some stuff that like you need to try to correct. You can't just pass this off as saying like, this is good, if that makes sense. There's something unbelievable about this panel. And in the end, believability is what you're going for more than anything. You know what I mean? Like, everything could be cartoony, everything could be like whatever, but like, if it's believable, who cares? Because I believe the story. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and like, the thing that I would also talk about, and this is what I was alluding to earlier, is that you rotate a lot, in that when you look at your action scenes, you have Vulture being very big in the foreground and then Gwen being very little, or the opposite. Like, try to pull back some to give us more context into what's going on. Like, give us another point of view, like from people down below, where both of them are small. You know what I mean? I think that would have described more of what you're trying to convey storytelling wise. Like what is it? Yeah. I think Brian Hitch said this a long time ago when he's saying, let's say you have, it was a long time ago, because he was talking about Apollo, like, let's say Superman, right? You have Superman flying around the Earth, really. You have Superman flying around the Earth, right? One way of thinking about it, of framing it, would be to have like a nice glory shot of Superman. Does that make sense? Right? Like pointing his fist right at your face, and just like, he's just flying right at you with like speed lines or whatever. But another way to do it is just draw a line that indicates like barely the curvature of the Earth, and just draw Superman very, very tiny, floating like right above the surface of the Earth. Does that make sense?
I feel like I've seen some cool covers recently of like, it'll be a big shot of like Gotham City, and then like Batman will be like 1/4 inch.
Yeah, like Hayden Sherman did that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Like think about it like that too. Like, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, even if you pick like very, very dramatic angles, they're gonna get boring too. You know what I mean? Because you're just seeing it over and over again. Like, here's Vulture, here's Gwen, here's Vulture, here's Gwen. And I think you can do more. Like, the reason why I love the idea of what Bernard was saying of just doing these pages again is I would aim to try to figure out a completely different layout for every single panel that you've done, and then weigh that upon like, yeah, no, you know what, this is the best one, or this could work better, and I think that would be a really great exercise. For me personally, the thing that separates pro comic book artists from amateur comic book artists is just the layout stage. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah.
A good artist can draw anything, but a good comic book artist knows how to lay out a page. Kind of like what he was saying about like figure out angles, then do the panel work around it, and so on and so forth.
James, how many?
But again,
how many versions of the layouts did you do before you started working on the final page?
Yeah, so yeah, I had the script printed out, and then just because I can like think faster on paper, I probably had a few sheets for each. Like for each finished page, I had probably had like 2 or 3 sheets of like typing paper with like different angles, and then tried to like cobble that together and like pick which. Like I always hear about like an anchor frame, like each page to have an anchor frame. That's like the most exciting thing. Make that really big, and then arrange around that.
Money shot.
Oh, and I always think about something that Sean Chen said, which was about like doing layouts feels like solving a Sudoku puzzle. Like each box has to make sense, but it also has to like multiply against everything that's next to it. So yeah, the layout was definitely a big mental challenge, and it looks like I have a lot more challenge ahead of me.
Well, look, you're definitely tackling on some kind of really difficult angles, right? So you're not afraid to do the hard work. So and a lot of this is also nitpicking, because like upon first glance of the pages, they look very good. But then as
I 100% agree.
As you start going into the details, then it's like, okay, well, now this is what I think an editor would look at, or if I was an editor, these are things that I would look at, and these are things that also I would look at if I were to draw this page myself. And so just to keep that in mind. So going back with the perspective of the building and the scene itself, so it's almost like you had 2 separate things going on in this one panel. Spider-Gwen in the window, right? She's only 2 stories up, or she's in the 2nd floor. If we're going to follow this, this side of the panel, everything's like super small, but it's also not it's not a extremely hyper dynamic perspective. We can still kind of measure everything out. And so when I mentioned earlier about some things being kind of looking a little cartoonish, is that if you were to see the faces and the heads and then compare them out with the grid, I'm going to kind of draw a different version out. But in the car too, like this van, right? Like you got the door open on the van, but then you drew the tire underneath, the front tire underneath the front door. And then this tire, the back tire. So if this was the bottom of the van, because you drew it, but then this is the rear fender. If I didn't draw the door here, you can see the tire that you've drawn. This is what the van would look like if the door was closed. Now, I get it. This is just a background element. It's just a news van. But when I'm looking at all of these things together, you know, there are little things in the, you know, the tire should be up here. But I'm just being nitpicky. But
No, that does make more sense. Like
um,
no automaker would ever put the wheel right there where I had it.
Did you look at a van? I mean, I'm sure you looked at a van, but did you?
Yeah,
Did you...
I have like some model cars, including a van, but I'm looking again at it, and yeah, I had the wheel too far back. You know, and probably I was fighting with wanting to have the cameraman there, but you know, vans have wheels, so I wanted to draw it. So I think, yeah, I believe that's just a mistake.
yeah, you know, look, James, don't. I'm just being extremely nitpicky. So
Also, can I point out that Bernard, like there was maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, or maybe a while ago, you were drawing a similar thing with a van. It's being hit by like a meteor or something like that, and it was bounced up in the air,
oh yeah,
and it was in a down shot. So you were kind of drawing a very similar thing, but remember you were drawing, and what's heartbreaking is it's something that's hard. It's hard to conceive of this from the start because you have it in your mind, and it's basically in theoretical form, and then you draw it out. But when you get about 3/4 of the way done, which could be like a few hours worth of work, that's when you can really evaluate it. And then, unless you're lucky, it probably didn't work. So that's when you erase the whole thing and draw it again. And that's what being a comic book artist is. So this is one of those things where when you're most of the way done, you can step back and look at it, and you can say, like, yeah, it's not working. Those people are too small, and the perspective lines of the building aren't tapering extreme enough. So it makes those guys look small. You can kind of do an autopsy on what you've been doing for the past few hours, and then start again. And it's not like you'd have to start again because you're an amateur, because you saw Bernard do the same thing on a piece that he's doing for Marvel. So this is just a very difficult thing you're drawing, and to get it right the first time, or even to get it right at all, is tough for anyone. So I just want to, don't think that you're screwing up here, because I'm looking at what you're trying to do here, and that gives me the heebie-jeebies. I mean, this is going to be a long day if I determine that's what I'm going to draw.
here is yeah, that van thing. I'll pull it up in a second. I gotta maybe hide some of the elements of that page because I can't show it yet. But the background, as I'm kind of drawing it in, a couple different notes, aside from the size of the head, right? And part of that is you can kind of gauge the background that you've drawn, the pizzeria and the van, and then gauge that with the size of the people that you're drawing. So even now I'm looking at it, some of my heads are like way too big.
Like, could that person sit in that car?
Yeah, right, because it's all in the same scene, right? So it looks like you're kind of compositing pieces in there. You know you have to have a building, you know you have to have a van, you know you have to have people, and so you're drawing everything kind of separately. But you're not drawing it as if it's existing in the same world at the same time. And so to me, and this is where I have a lot of fun in. Now, just looking at this, right? The bodies are a little bit, as opposed to how.
Oh yeah, big difference.
Right, because how you have it, like this head of this guy is so big, but then he's literally right next to this. If we were to draw a comparison, he's literally right next to the wall of the pizzeria. But then, if we were to take this, going back, and her head is twice the size of his, and she's only maybe, a foot and a half different distance. So she's not in perspective compared to him. She's on the same plane. So all of these consistencies. Now, I'm going on a tangent. So to me, what's fun is, okay, you drew the baby's getting away, and you drew a pizzeria. Well, draw a guy in there eating a pizza, and then draw his girlfriend or his wife, maybe eating a pizza, but then realizing that her baby is running away. And so there's all this chaos going on. Here is the reporter, and here's still some other people on the, as if they're walking in and out of frame, right? Because this is New York City. There's constantly people. If I were to draw someone, if I were to draw another person getting into the, maybe someone's gonna steal the news van or something. I don't know. Everybody's kind of doing something else. This is not in the script, but this is you adding. And I think editors are gonna see this, and they're gonna be like, okay, if I hire James is gonna bring more to the table. I'm going to have a guy that's going to write a script, but I know James is going to add all this extra stuff. Pros are going to see all these things, I feel like. And they're going to gravitate and know that, wow, okay, you're really adding a lot of things in here. There's actually a whole world going on. Any other comments before we move on to the next page?
I think James, you might be feeling like you're getting mixed messages with people saying that your backgrounds have, like, they have this wallpaper texture feel to it because there's the equal amount of detail throughout, so it kind of just all blends together, kind of like what Sean was saying about Spider-Man's webbing and stuff. So this point of adding more detail might seem like, oh, you're making my backgrounds more like wallpaper by adding detail. You just have to pick your battles. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like make the awning. If the awning is big, then that's a big breathing spot right there for all the chaos that's happening around it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
So yeah, this isn't like it's not mutually exclusive. You can have a lot of detail while also giving the eyes a place to rest that the guys were talking about.
All right, I think we're only going to be able to get to 2 or 3 pages tonight, maybe 2. So, and I'll send you this file after we're done, James.
Thank you.
So,
I don't know James's work. I haven't seen it before. I'm sure you guys are much more familiar with it, but I think that the fact that we're kind of nitpicking I would honestly take it as a very good sign, because there's a lot to build on. You know what I mean? Like, I was talking about a portfolio review I did like last weekend. There was not a lot that I could build upon. But this is a lot of positive stuff where, you can actually say, the fact that we can identify certain things and say, like, oh, this is not the right choice. It's because you deliberately made a choice. It was just wrong. Does that make sense?
right.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a personal choice. It's a storyteller's choice.
Right.
I almost want to rather talk about page 3 if we're only going to have time to do one more page. And then, James, I mean, if you want, we can keep up with this next week because it's almost 12 o'clock on
Okay.
the East Coast. Another comment, note, is that this phone pops out of her, and I think it's an important story component because it comes back on the last page, last panel. But I don't see
Yes.
the phone anywhere prior to this. And so if it's in her bag or if it's in the side of her bag or, on the first page, I don't think we see it either. So this is something that, I guess it's here in this last panel. But even between these two, going back last thing on the first page. This is a mistake. I do this all the time, but she's holding the spray can with her right hand, and now she's holding the spray can with her left hand. It is possible that she could have switched hands, but knowing that in the second page, the cell phone being dropped is a key component to the story, I would try to incorporate that in the first page somehow. Or maybe one of her hands is holding a cell phone. Or one of her open hands. So maybe here she's holding a cell phone. Since it's such a big one. So she's taking a picture of her work or something.
Makes sense.
Even if the writer doesn't write it in, it's a visual component. Like even here, I would have her, like here in this panel, she suddenly dropped the spray can. What is she holding? She's just kind of turned around. Does she put it in her backpack? Okay, but the other ones we've seen all this. Again, nitpicking really, but was there a story component where she takes off the backpack, or she just gets hit?
I think in the script, on the last panel of page 2, as the vulture crashes through the fire escape, she's supposed to lose the bag and lose the phone.
Okay. Like this is a beautiful shot right here. This page has this is a really nice drawing of the vulture swooping through and knocking her off. This drawing of the vulture, really, really nice. This was a very dramatic shot of the vulture, kind of like how you lit it. These two, the first reveal of the vulture versus him also swooping down. I guess the script had 5 panels in it, and he's just saying a bunch of stuff in here, or?
Yeah, the script has 5 panels.
Okay. You feel like this is your big money shot, the last panel, right? Can you talk us through your thought process?
Yeah, so I think my thought process was trying to highlight the phone because it shows up on the last panel, the last page. So I tried to frame it, and she's almost pointing at it as she reaches towards it, and it's more in the foreground, and the area around it has less detail. There's the side of the awning.
Right.
I tried to arrange the angle of the swoop to go with the page flow, he's diving in from the previous panel, and try to continue that sort of diagonal movement downward, and then also kind of frame the backpack sort of above Gwen to the side of the action lines. That was most of my thought process.
No, but the reveal of the vulture. Okay.
I see.
Is that because it's not the largest? It's the third largest panel on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I guess he says something here like, "You spoiled brat. Why are you tagging up the city with my name in it?" And she's like, "You old man, you old geezer. Stay in your own lane. And you bitch, I'm gonna get you." And
yeah, I think you got the script almost exactly.
Right.
So the first panel, I tried to show the vulture being threatening. So I tried to make Gwen very small, and she's he's taking up 2/3 of the composition, and there's this other vulture bird looming over on the other side. So that was kind of my thinking on that panel.
Okay. Did the script say which panel the writer designated a panel that he wanted emphasized?
Not. Let me see. I have the script right in front of me. It does not say big panel. In the script, it doesn't really say panel size too much.
Yeah, usually they might not. and like even if they do, I would disregard it. But
The thing it does say is it does say like a lot of pull out or like close up. So like it does tell you the angle a little bit, but it doesn't really tell you the panel shape.
okay. Another overall comment for the pages, in that Spider-Gwen is a ballerina, right?
Yes.
And so I would, every time we have her doing some kind of athletic thing, keep that into consideration. In that, have her move a little bit more as a ballerina. In that, some of her poses should reflect her character as opposed to any other character. Like if we were to draw Spider-Man on instead of Spider-Gwen, it would still be, you would just change the head.
Well, that's like in that first panel, like I feel like Daredevil could jump like that.
Yeah, like anybody could jump like this in the first panel on page 1, right? So is there, when you're, again, now this is, again, we're talking story, is there something about the character that you can enhance more in your storytelling, in your drawing, so that if, maybe her toe is pointed because the ballerinas, they do the pirouettes or whatever it's called, and so their joints, they spend hours like physically in pain because they're stretching their joints so they can move their ankles and wrists and legs in multiple ways that a normal human civilian would not be able to do, right? Because that's part of their career, that's part of their craft. So I would say if I'm drawing a Spider-Gwen, so it comes into like this panel where she's getting knocked out or knocked down or knocked off the fire escape. Is there something else that could tell me right away that more about the character? If I didn't know anything about Spider-Gwen, what else can you do when you're drawing her and her movements that can reflect a little bit more of who she is? Now, the only exception that would come in is the last page, because the last page she falls down or tumbles down into the water. And this one, I would, I wouldn't. This is my only fault on this one page, is that this, and I'm jumping around, that this last image where she's falling into the water, it's like as if she's coming out of the water. It's not that she's falling in. And is she falling in out of control, or is she falling in control? Is like she could be like, I'm jumping around, but using the analogy of the ballerina pose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, she could be kind of out of control, but 3, 4, she's regaining control, and then this last one, oh, she's maintained herself, or is she still out of control when she lands into the water? Because
I'm listening. While we're on this page, may I ask, what do you think of the big Gwen in the background? Is that a good device, or was?
To me, when I read it, it gives me a sense of that she's in trouble, or that she's thinking about something, that she's realizing she is in deep trouble, or that she's forgetting something. That's what it says to me. Sean, Mike, when you look at this, do you? I think they fell asleep.
No, I'm here.
Do you guys, when you look at this image, and we're jumping around, but what do you think of the superimposed Gwen in the background?
Well, if she's really horrified or scared, maybe if you can push that a little bit more, because she does look like she's kind of more in thought. deep in thought about something. And I like how her mask isn't on, so you can actually see her face, because otherwise her face is always covered.
Yeah, but this last one I might have chosen a different pose. And also she's, I guess, you know, James, the thing is that we're being extremely nitpicky about this, which is good. These are all things that when I'm doing a page I think about. So it goes back into the posing of her being knocked off the but even at this, okay, here's another story thing. She's being knocked off, but she's only on the second floor, right? She's only on the second
Yes.
floor, so it's a 10-foot fall, 12-foot fall. So these are components again where I think the background has to be another character and has to be she's being knocked out. That's a really quick fall. Anyways, my other last comment overall for the portfolio is what I noticed is that this is a pretty nice pose of the or image of the vulture. But in 6 pages, we see it again 2 pages later. Very similar. His arms are a little different, but it's still a very almost kind of similar angle, similar pose.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like an upshot, and he's kind of reaching for us. As he's reaching towards the camera. I mean, this is, really nice. It's like textured, worn, scraggly old guy. Looks like a villain. This was just something that came to me when I first was looking at the pages, and then also this panel on this page, page 4. I didn't really understand what was happening. I think, is she spinning him around, or?
I think the idea is they leave the apartment. Gwen shoots webs to follow him, but then he turns the tables. Like he's, she's a passenger. He's flying along. He wraps the webs around, and then he spins in a big circle and flings her over towards the water and slices the web line. And so then she goes and lands in the Hudson. But I feel like panel 3, like the loop-to-loop panel, might be
This
one of my least favorites. I think the one with the 2 vultures.
Yeah.
I had a lot of trouble with that one.
Yeah, this one I like. Would you be open to sharing the script on the Discord?
I'm not sure if I can, because I think it's like a script that Marvel hands out, and I don't know if I have the right to disseminate it.
It's not something that you found online. It's something that you got. Well, I did find it online, but I had to dig.
Okay. But I feel like it would not be my place to repost it.
Who was the writer? Latour?
Yeah, Jason Latour. And I could find the issue that it is from, because it was from a published comic.
I found it. All right, I'll post a link.
Okay.
So I'll post a link on the Discord. Just a Google search. So if anybody watching this wants to, don't look at James's pages. Come up with your own layout. We can actually have a comparison. That's also very helpful, that you could see the same story drawn in multiple different ways. But okay, we got about 15, 20 minutes left on this second page. What page do you guys want to talk about today as the last page? I know Mike had the third page where he's crashing into the apartment. Sean, was there some other page that you wanted to talk about? Or
Not in
James?
particular. I think we've covered it all.
James, was there a page that you want to talk about more than the others?
I think page 3 has a lot happening, and it sounded like Mike Choi had some doubts about the arrangement of the figures. Like it was a little bit, Vulture's close, Gwen's close, Vulture's close. Like it was going back and forth too much.
Right.
If there are like better solutions to some of the elements on this page, I would love to hear how I could do something better.
Like
If you
pull
have
out, like even just from this angle, like I'm seeing just lots of big shots of Vulture. Like the background around Vulture in the third panel is the stuff that is so important, and yet it seems like an aftershot at this angle. Does that make sense?
That does
Like-
make sense, yeah.
Like the Vulture should be just a part of the environment, which is the interior of the apartment. Like that's a great shot of having. I mean, a great opportunity to have the hole in the wall, and then Vulture in there, and then people around him like going, "Oh my God, get out of my apartment!" kind of situation. You know what I mean? Everything is very. You're filling up the panel with either Vulture or Gwen. So. It's I think it would be helpful to kind of like vary up, like kind of like what I was talking about with Superman flying around the Earth, like pull out a little bit and make the environment like a focal point every so often. Like, but again, that's not to say that that's not a really good shot of the Vulture. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, each individual drawing, they're good drawings. Each individual panel in itself, but then again, in context to the other, panels on the page, there could be maybe a better solution. Here,
Looking at. Oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was about to say, like, listening to what you're saying and looking at the panel, I would almost want to make the Vulture in silhouette. Like, we already know what Vulture looks like by now. And then that would really put the focus on the environment.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. I mean, I think the different shot types or the different figure sizes. So you have Vulture. I mean, they're all different size Vultures, but they're basically, when you step back, they're all really much the same level of detail and the same size. And there's 3 of them on the page, and they all kind of compete with each other. So just don't forget the different shot types. There's like the black silhouette. There's small figures. There's the white silhouettes. Maybe like, something we've seen established is how we pull the camera way back, and then you can kind of the shock and awe comes from the vastness of the space, and so just like try to find a solution where it's not all the same, like Vulture the same size, and then like his wing texture and his texture of his skin, and he's got like different types of furry and feathery textures all over the place. And that can also blow out your retinas, just seeing that in a little bit too much. So even within the same figure, if you don't blacken out the whole figure in a silhouette, you can, the parts that are away from the light, just make that all black. And that gives your eye a chance to rest, and also establishes parts of his body that are more in front or more in back or in shadows. So, and it just it lends to the structure and variety of texture. So this is really advanced stuff. Once you get to this level, then you can actually push it further and try to make things a little bit more visually interesting.
That would be my comment, is that this page is an action page. Each time we see the Vulture, except for the last panel, is roughly around the same size. 1 and 2 are definitely about the same size. 3 or 4 The body's about the same size, but the perspective changes because it's a little bit more of a dynamic shot. So it doesn't make it as exciting as it could be. And so I would choose, maybe one or two of these, and some of these other ones I would go ahead and then, unless there's anything in the story that requires Spider-Gwen to be saying stuff, I would think about this in terms of, okay, I'm going to start off with, I'll keep whatever you have here. It's a nice shot, nice, he's reacting. But then here I might just go in and really zoom in on Spider-Gwen. And then have him kind of move oops. So she's really an extreme close-up. And then to balance it out, go with a little bit more of a close-up of the Vulture.
Oh, cool.
And you can have her in the background here if you wanted to. And then end up with, I would say, since I'm favoring one character, they're all about the same. I'm favoring another character. They're all about the same. Right? That way we're kind of going back and forth. These two and 4 balance each other out. They kind of reflect each other. One perspective, the other perspective. This one, again, this panel you can draw any way you want. Here I had the 2 occupants of the apartment kind of eating their morning breakfast. This guy's drinking a tea. She's munching on some omelet and on her phone. Here's the kitchen. There's a cat. She's like, the cat's like jumping up. And then past the kitchen, you have maybe like a picture or a cabinet or something, is the Vulture and Gwen smashing into their living room. Right? And then here they're coming out. And again, this angle, you can even do debris trailing. So that, see, the building is kind of in a slightly perspective down shot. So what does that say? That the Vulture is flying back up. And in this last panel, you wouldn't even need any background. I would let it just, she's already fired her. Here she's maybe firing her webbing in panel 4, and then panel 5 she's already carried away, and I might have a couple feathers coming off of him, and some of the birds circling around, other vultures circling around, and they're flying in the sky. And that gives the eye a little bit of a chance to breathe. That's about the balance that Sean was talking earlier about the Geof Darrow drawing, where the white of the sidewalk and the suit really gives a counterbalance to all the detail that's happening in the background. And so again, this is one way. There's another way of drawing this, the second one, but switching it up so that the Vulture is not always the same size. And also, I think you save a little bit of time with having here he's like yanking the, it's cropped, so it's okay. He's like pulling the webbing off of his eyes, which is what this panel is really about, right? About him struggling to get the stuff off, right? I don't need to see all the other stuff. So, I mean, this is just a quick way, and I think this way you also you're really focused on here. Panel 1, panel 3 are your two primary focused panels that you're going to render the shit out of. 2 and 4, it's really about the character. And then 5 gives you a chance to breathe. And then you open up to the next page where, boom, we're over the side. Wow, now you got all this background again. Right? I'm turning up the volume. I'm turning down the volume. I'm turning it up. I'm turning it down, turning it up, turning it down. So that when you do have like this immense background with all this detail in it, it really has a greater impact.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Any last words? From our,
I appreciate all of your time. Last words from you guys, not from me. Okay.
or last words from Mike and Sean, and James, you can have the last word. Or is Jerry
Well,
still here?
I want you just that page you just drew. You see that the last two panels, like one gigantic head that's a foot away from the viewer, and then the very next panel will pull way back where those tiny figures. To have one right after the other, that's what I'm talking about. Shot types. It's the complete opposite, and that gives the different shot type is visually very interesting, and it basically like refreshes you to see something new. I think before what you had was like kind of like same. Obviously not the same, but just the fact that it's like the full figure of the vulture and then another full figure and another figure. And you can kind of get tired of the same, roughly the same type of drawing, but you can see what Bernard did there. I don't know if it was conscious or not, but like one giant head a foot away from you, and the next shot, a far away shot where there's silhouettes and the heads are like tiny little pins. That's, this is what comics are, how, them at their best.
Yeah, I think the main thing that I want to say was I want to key in on what like Mike Choi said about page 1, and I think he was saying about believability being so important, or like making it convincing. And I think Bernard's version of panel 3 with the couple having breakfast in the apartment, I think really adds to the believability and like life of how you could dramatize this, because they're having their breakfast, but then they'd be reacting, and then I think it would just like add more human emotion that people could connect with, rather than superheroes fighting each other, but having the human element. Oh, suddenly this fantastic event is like in our normal space, and like how would you draw that? I think. So I think my final word is, I was studying Bruce Lee, and he said, what was that? An exhibition? We need emotional content.
Emotional content. He's like a finger pointing the way to the moon.
So yeah, I think punching up the emotional content in, especially that third, that apartment's a great opportunity for that. And I think, thank you so much for bringing all these things to my attention. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for being brave. I mean, I wouldn't want to go through this. It's demoralizing. But
James, you're gonna have your mom DM Mike later.
Email Mike.
For being mean, yeah. No, it's good.
I think he was kind of racist today too, even though we're all Asian American. But,
no, it's good stuff.
My mom is very sweet and gentle. She's not like a tiger mom at all.
Like think about like this scene here in the apartment. To me, like this scene, even though they're fighting back and forth, this scene here in the apartment is probably the one where you can really shine. Whether it's, it could be a girl in the bathtub. It could be a girl sitting on the toilet clipping her nails, and then them crashing through in front, and she's in the background or something, or there's all of these different things, different components that you can kind of add to it, or is it like a drug debt, or is it like a I mean, depending on what part of Manhattan are they in, right? I was thinking too when I was drawing this that they would actually crash through the other side of the building, but from one street to the other street, but there might not be enough room to show it. And to me, the most important part is showing the vulture, his face, versus Gwen's face, right? And really punch up his expression, his manic expression here in panel 4, like pulling the webbing apart. One eye's closed, one eye's open. You know, he's like, damn, you know, superheroes. I want to show her. Really punching up the acting in that. So, all right. But James, thank you for stepping up, and I think if we have time next week, we can go over the other 2 or 3 that's left. I'll post the link to the script if you guys want to, if you're watching, you want to go and kind of take a stab at the layouts. If you want to do the layouts and you want to get a review, I would personally submit only layouts first. Don't jump to the final line art, because we want to make sure the layouts are resolved before you spend too much more time drafting final line art. And then, James, are you going to go to New York?
Yes, I will be at New York Comic Con.
Okay, so I would recommend redoing these pages for New York. You have 2 months, and we can figure out some other components to add in, some more civilians or some more, some of these components. I mean, I get that Mike Silvestri said that he needs to see more people in regular clothes, and I would counter that by saying also we need to see some more cars. A helicopter or something, or bridges, or foliage. There's no foliage in any of this. Foliage is the easiest thing to draw. But somewhere maybe we need to see some trees, or find a place. Even in this shot where she's falling down, she could be falling onto the crowd that's gathered around. And those people are like, and there's debris coming down on them, so they're like, it's hitting their head, or they're running for cover, or they're reacting to what's going on.
That is one big thing I noticed when you would redraw the panels, is that you were really bold with using the foreground space. Because here I've got kind of things in the middle and far distance, but there's nothing like super close in that last panel. If you were to have a crowd reacting, you could there's space to fit more people in.
Yeah.
Or the cell phone.
And the cell phone, yeah. So, when Mike was talking about the distancing and pulling out, I was also thinking about Battlestar Galactica. Have you ever seen Battlestar Galactica?
I still haven't.
You haven't seen it?
I've never seen a Battlestar Galactica.
The old one or the new one?
Neither.
Neither. Oh. Sean, keep that in mind next time we do Battle of the Sketches, like a sketch battle.
Remember, he didn't know famous spaceships.
Yeah, we gotta do
So
Vipers.
his weakness.
All right, we found James's Achilles heel. But the thing with Battlestar Galactica, what was so cool was that usually when they have fighter jet scenes, right? You see the fighter jet, the Vipers flying in. They're fairly big on screen. But what Battlestar Galactica revolutionized was they were like, they pull way back out, and like the Galactica would be like this big, and you see like these little, like real small, and it gave you a sense like, holy shit, I'm in space, and I'm watching a space battle. This is what it would really look like. As opposed to like the movie version where the ships are flying right next to the camera, and you're in, they would pull back. They'd go from the cockpit, and then they pull way back, and the Vipers would be like, like little ants flying around the screen. And it had a dramatic, to me at least, had a huge dramatic effect. I haven't been reading the chat today, so your Jimbo's here. Dr. Midnight, hey, good to see Dr. Midnight. Way high. Mike was on last week, but I took off the last week's stream because he was talking a lot of shit about. No, he wasn't really.
She deserved it.
So okay. Anyways, make sure you guys hit that. If you're on YouTube, go to YouTube. I'm trying to get the YouTube numbers up. I've been saying that for I think 2 years, and we're stuck at a paltry 300 followers. Because eventually we like to migrate over there, and we need 1,000 people before we can migrate over to YouTube. James, last words. We'll see you next week. Battle of the sketches.
Yeah,
We'll do some sketch battle maybe next week if we have time. Definitely, we're gonna do some Battlestar Galactica.
Okay.
What about Space
I've got
1999?
No, I don't know that. at all.
Ooh, Space 1999 with Mike. You know that show, right? Sean, you know that show. What was that guy? Walter
Yo,
Matthau?
I've never seen Battlestar Galactica either.
Eagle One.
What? Eagle One. Yeah, Eagle One was amazing. You've never seen Battlestar Galactica? What the? Wow. Yojimbo, can
I've
you
seen
mute
I've seen
Mike?
each Star Wars movie once.
Oh.
I don't know if that is good or not.
Martin Landau, right. Yeah. Space 1999. It was really boring. I rewatched it on, I think it was on Amazon. It was so slow, but when I was a kid, I remember I loved the ships. They looked so cool. Okay. Anybody, who should we raid? Way High's here. Anybody else?
Hey, James,
Yes.
real quick. Based on the pages that you gave, if someone was to ask you, just draw an image of Gwen Stacy fighting, Spider-Gwen fighting the Vulture, you would knock that out of the park. Like, I think you've shown that. But the storytelling is just such the harder part. It's like this whole other animal. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But you can definitely draw. This is good stuff. All right.
I appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Mike. Thanks for coming. Who should we
Mike.
raid? Amarath? Any suggestions? Oh, here's a girl drawing a bikini girl. Rather suggestive.
It's always the boobs.
Steve Sketches. This looks kind of cool. All right, Steve Sketches. Let's rate Steve Sketches. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you're all doing good. Stay safe. AI apocalypse has not happened, so we're still able to stream. Catch you next time. Happy holidays. Thanks, James.
Happy holidays. Thanks
Yeah,
a lot,
happy
James.
holidays. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, are we rating? Okay, I think we